Hey everyone, today I'm going to be reviewing Eugene Thacker's new book, Infinite Resignation, which is a pessimistic philosophy book. And this actually was just published in 2018, and it's one of the rare occurrences where I pre-order a book and get it right when it comes out. I believe it came out in July, but it might have been August. But I read it like right away, and then I've just finished rereading it for a second time like a week ago. So I really, as you could tell because I reread it, I really like this book. And also, while it looks fairly large, it's a pretty quick read given the fact that in pessimistic philosopher style, Thacker writes a majority of the book in aphorisms, which are just little snippets, thoughts, usually a paragraph or two, sometimes as short as a line. So you go through it pretty quick. It's probably about half, maybe even a third of the length that it actually looks. And the Eugene Thacker's aphorisms make up the first part of the book. The second part of the book, which begins... The second part of the book, which is this part, so sort of the final third of the book, is actually descriptions on different pessimistic philosophers. So the first part is on pessimism, and then the second part, which is his aphorisms, and then the second part is the patron saints of pessimism, where Thacker goes through some of his favorite pessimistic thinkers and just gives you a quick little, not so much a biography, but almost aphorisms about those, specifically about those different pessimistic philosophers. So if you're into pessimistic philosophy, I highly recommend this book because it is on its own a great piece of philosophy, in my opinion. And in addition to that, the second part of the book, the last quarter, gives you a pretty good overview of other philosophers. And I've actually got looked into books of two other philosophers, which prior to reading Thacker's book, I had never heard of. So I'm just going to, just to give you an idea of what Thacker's aphorisms are kind of about, I'll read you 4 or 5 of my favorites, and then I'll give you my rating, and then you can go from there. So let's see. So one of them, it was tough to just pick like 4 or 5 to read to you because I liked a lot of them. But let's see, this was a good one about pessimistic philosophy. So he says, pessimism emerges out of a basic tension between the world as we think it should be and the world as it is. And then he says a little later, to be let down by life, one of pessimism's greatest affirmations. So pessimistic philosophy isn't, as Thacker mentions and a few other philosophers mention, it's not pessimism like glass half full. Philosophical pessimism is more of an outlook towards life, that life is either miserable or not as happy as people think, and that sort of thing. So that's sort of where Thacker's coming from. And then another one I really liked was existing suffices. Only human beings have had the misfortune of inventing something called life on top of it all. And that actually, and one of Thacker's favorite philosophers is Kieran, and that actually reminded me of an aphorism from Kieran, where he talks about gorillas being content with boredom. That's from his, I forget the name of it. I don't have it on me. But so he definitely harkens back to what he calls the patron saints of pessimism. And another good one he says, to decide is to compromise. In other words, whenever you make a decision, you're sort of compromising between the other possible actions, what an economist might call an opportunity cost. And that's another big thing in pessimism in general. Another component of it. Sorry, this is sort of sloppy. I haven't done a book review in a while. Let's see. This is one I liked here. He said, people walking slower than me are idiots. People walking faster than me are assholes. And nothing is more annoying than a stranger walking at exactly my pace. Which I thought was pretty good. And the last one I'll give you. And the last one is one that I think actually sort of summarizes Thacker's book and Thacker's writing, even though he wrote this aphorism probably with Leopardi, I don't know how to pronounce that, Pascal, Schopenhauer, Kieran in mind. I think it also applies to him in his writing. He writes, "There are writers who are so depressing, it's inspiring." And I think that that's pretty much a good summary of Eugene Thacker's Infinite Resignation. It is so depressing that it's inspiring. And if you, like myself, are interested in pessimistic philosophy, whether or not you agree with it or not, I would definitely recommend Eugene Thacker. And another interesting thing, too, is that, like I said, this was published in 2018. And there's actually been a fairly large number of pessimistic books that have been coming in the last decade or two. So I think pessimism is a little bit on the rise right now. And I think that Thacker might be ahead of the curve, as the Joker might say. So, Infinite Resignation, Eugene Thacker. I wobbled between a 3 and a 4, but I enjoyed it so much and I read it twice that I'm going to have to give it a 4 out of 5. It's a good read. And another thing I want to mention too, while it's a philosophy book, it's like most pessimistic philosophy books, it's not very dense. It's not loaded with philosophical terminology. There isn't really much epistemology and metaphysics and not even ethics in it. It's more of a life philosophy type of thing. So even if you're not into philosophy, I would recommend this book as just a general interest reading into philosophy. And also, while most pessimists hate being associated with them, or at least dislike it, if you're into like existentialism and nihilism, I would also recommend checking out pessimism, including Eugene Thacker's Infinite Resignation. So thanks for watching.